Something is off with this airline, and I've been trying to put my finger on why I feel like this. They are rated 3 stars by Skytrax and have all the trappings of a fully functional airline, and yet something doesn't feel quite right. It is now 2025, so the airline has been operating in Malaysia for 13 years. So why have they not found the love with the Malaysian travelling public? I aim to find out.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Apa khabar tuan-tuan, puan-puan, semua kawan dan penonton yang terhormat? Selamat datang ke lapangan terbang antarabangsa Pulau Pinang. Hari ini, saya akan naik Batik Air di kelas bisnes dari Pulau Pinang ke Kuala Lumpur. Therefore, come along with me and let's see what the experience on Batik Air in business class on a short domestic flight is all about. Let's do this.
Everybody just do your thing.
If you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan. Born and bred in Singapore, I now call Australia home. I travel lots because I love to fly and eat. So this travel series will focus on one of my favorite countries, Malaysia. We begin in Melbourne, where Malaysia Airlines takes us to Kuala Lumpur on their brand new Airbus A330-900neo. We begin eating almost immediately on arrival because night markets are just the best. We break the norm of flying to Penang, instead choosing to journey there by train. Definitely a welcome alternative, especially when you're not in a rush. Besides more night markets, Penang welcomes us with open arms as we walk into one of the most stunning colonial hotels in the region. Heading back to Kuala Lumpur, we get to fill our tummies even further as our stay continues, before we make the return journey back to Australia via Melbourne. Make sure you hit subscribe and the bell icon so you won't miss a single episode. Even better, become a member for early access to these videos. Whatever you do, thank you for your support. As part of Malaysia's Northern Corridor Economic Zone, the state of Penang is the focus of the country's high-tech electronics industry and manufacturing base. Therefore, the main airport serving the state is Lapangan Terbang Antarabangsa Pulau Pinang, or Penang International, which is surprisingly well connected internationally despite its puny physical stature. Located in the free economic zone of Bayan Lepas on Penang Island, the airport is also a major logistics hub, serviced by no less than 11 airlines flying their cargo planes in and out of this busy airport. As far as traffic volumes go, it is the country's 3rd busiest after the airports of Kota Kinabalu and Kuala Lumpur. As a strong alternate economic gateway of the country, Penang International is also the focus airport of most major airlines currently operating in Malaysia. Therefore, when Batik Air began operations in 2013, besides the obvious focus on operating flights out of the 2 airports in Kuala Lumpur, Penang was the next anchor for their operations. Batik Air presently flies from Penang to Jakarta and Medan in Indonesia, Guiyang and Kunming in China, and Singapore. Firefly covers Banda Aceh, Phuket and Chongqing, with Air Asia rounding off the international flights out of this airport to Singapore, Ho Chi Minh City, Shenzhen, Jakarta and Medan. The parent company of Batik Air is Lion Group from Indonesia. They themselves operate a whole list of airlines under their umbrella, and they are the largest airline conglomerate in that country. Reputation-wise, well, not that great. Lion Air, a low-cost airline, had a rough start in the late 90s which was born out of Indonesia's aviation deregulation. That milestone saw so many airlines getting formed, and the safety-related incidents which peppered the Indonesian aviation industry for over a decade. Lion wasn't immune from this. Out of Lion Air, Batik Air was born in 2012, as the Lion Group has always desired to break into the full-service segment of air travel. In 2013, the Lion Group partnered with Malaysia's National Aerospace and Defence Industries to create the Malaysian franchise of Batik Air. Although the original name was to be Batik Air Malaysia, the new owners decided to call it Malindo Air, in recognition of this collaboration, a combination of the both countries' name, Malaysia and Indonesia. Which explains why in the early days, there were some aircraft in its inventory in this hybrid livery. From the onset, the new fledgling airline was expansion-focused. In 2013, they started with a couple of domestic flights to key cities from Kuala Lumpur. And by the time COVID-19 came around in 2020, they were rather sizable, serving over 70 destinations across 16 countries. Sometime in 2016, they also diverted away from their role as a hybrid airline and became full service, going head-to-head with the established national flag carrier Malaysia Airlines. But the global pandemic was set to change the airline's trajectory. Batik Air has a business class product which is unbundled, so your basic fare does not come with lounge access. For 120 Australian dollars extra per passenger, we could have accessed the Plaza Premium Lounge here in Penang. But nah, that's definitely not worth the top-up. So we plonked ourselves at the coffee shop until boarding was due. Coming out of the pandemic extremely brutalized and shrunken by 30%, Malindo Air went about simplifying their fleet operations. Getting rid of their turboprop ATR aircraft, they now operate 44 jet aircraft consisting of wide-body Airbus A330s and Boeing 737s. And this morning's example is Lima Charlie Zulu, which was originally delivered to Garuda Indonesia in October 2015, before changing hands to Batik Air in 2022, and finally flying into the arms of their present owner, which is Batik Air Malaysia, making her just slightly over a decade old at the time of writing. Post-pandemic, the airline has once again shifted its focus to become a hybrid airline once again. So there is a business class cabin with all the frills, and an economy class product which functions on a low-cost model. Their initial switch from this to full service was due to confusing messaging from a branding perspective. So the decision to revert back to the original model is most curious. And I'll take you through what this means with this flight as an illustration, that despite having the look and feel of a fully functional airline, something just doesn't feel quite right. Besides reverting on the airline's operating model, in another turnaround shift, in April 2022, it was decided the airline adopt its original intended name of Batik Air Malaysia, therefore retiring the Malindo branding for good. This was a consolidation attempt by the Lion Group to gather its full-service airlines into one single entity. While all that is well and good, cracks were appearing everywhere because of the airline's rapid expansion. I mean, let's face it, from a domestic airline to a sizable regional outfit all within the space of half a decade. While impressive, the daily operations were stretched to the limit. Post-COVID, the first batch of 737s which were delivered to the airline to aid their expansion were all starting to look very well used. So don't be surprised, you are boarding an aircraft with non-functioning facilities. And no, none of their PTVs work anymore, because the airline hasn't paid their licensing fees for the IFE content. On this flight, our seats were jammed against the bulkhead, so recline was impossible. My question is why? Where's the logic in this? Not everything is doom and gloom though. Pre-departure service protocols include a pre-departure drink, and sometimes they come around with glasses of juice. But this morning it was bottles of mineral water. And they also gave out packets of snacks, which is more than what any other regular airlines provide before pushback.
Yang terdapat di dalam penerbangan ini, tata cara keselamatan di dalam pesawat ini mungkin berbeza dengan yang lain. Saya turut berada kepada taklimat keselamatan kami. Terima kasih.
Taking off from runway 04, the departure profile for southerly flights is absolutely stunning. We make a right turn across the straits, giving us on the left side a vantage view of the Penang Bridge and Georgetown in the distance. The southerly journey continues past Ipoh and on descent, passing Kuala Lumpur and the administrative capital of Putrajaya, before landing in Kuala Lumpur International Airport, completing this flight in 40 minutes, covering a distance of just over 300 kilometers.
In 2013, when Malindo Air began operations, it was probably at the height of the issues rotting away at Malaysia Airlines, which saw that once mighty giant beginning to shrink like never before. Thousands of employees were retrenched, and amongst them, a huge number of cabin crew. So Malindo Air provided a career lifeline to these amazing individuals who came over with the rich experience behind them, all fully equipped by the excellent training received at the MAS Academy. As a frequent flyer with Malaysia Airlines, I could tell straight away from how a cabin crew on Malindo carried themselves that they used to fly with Malaysia Airlines. The way they spoke, their attentive demeanor, and caring nature. And herein lies the issue with the in-flight service on the present Batik Air Malaysia. Because these ex-Malaysia Airlines cabin crew did not stick around for long. On a short 40 minutes flight, not only were we served a hot meal, we even had a choice. You could either have a slice of chicken pizza, or like me, I went for a puff pastry which was filled with potato curry. Look, at the end of the day, this is an extremely short flight, so I was not expecting a Michelin star multi-course gourmet meal. So this refreshment was adequate given the duration. The in-flight service up to this point is best described as well-intentioned. When I took a 6-month sabbatical back in 2016, I based myself in Langkawi and Kuala Lumpur. So I flew Malindo and the original Indonesian Batik Air a lot because they provided great value with their fares. Their in-flight product was fresh and bright because as a new airline, there was an air of excitement. But even back then, the difference between the ex-cabin crew from Malaysia Airlines versus the direct hires was stark. It was really like night and day. My commentary going forward is anecdotal, so just take it in as you wish with an open mind.
I've had casual conversations with cabin crew from both organizations, Batik Air and Malaysia Airlines. While the initial excitement of working for a new airline was fun, it also meant there were many teething issues. So the shortfalls in cabin service delivery were sort of mitigated by the experienced ex-MH crew members. They knew how to arrest the problem before it blew out of proportion because they were able to anticipate. But the disorganized operations at Batik Air meant a lot of these excellent ex-MH crew members eventually threw in the towel and left the airline industry altogether. Whispers were rife about very poor working conditions, which eventually slowed the flow of experienced ex-MH crew members into Batik Air. I mentioned earlier in the video, the difference is very noticeable between the direct hires and those who had come from MH. Over COVID, this airline retrenched almost half of their workforce, and along with it, also many of these ex-MH crew members. Fast forward to 2025 when this flight was taken, Batik Air is today once again riding high on an expansion path, so their recruitment for flight attendants are happening fast and furious. But lessons learned from pre-COVID seems to be lost. This rapid expansion has come at the expense of quality control. The shoddy aircraft cabins are stuff of legends, and the inconsistent in-flight offerings are also a point of interest. Pre-flight towels are sometimes offered, sometimes not. Pre-departure drinks come in glasses, sometimes mineral water bottles. And the direct hire cabin crew just somehow lacks that certain je ne sais quoi. They talk differently, walk differently, behave differently. Makeup isn't all there. Even the hairstyle is a lot looser. And this was where in the past, the ex-MH crew members were able to lift the game for this new airline. So with the cabin crew of Batik Air now mostly represented by direct hires, it really calls into question their recruitment criteria and training protocols. It's not that they're bad at what they do. The smiles were there, they were polite, they did what they had to. But I draw a parallel between this experience to driving a Chinese car from the late 2010s. They manufactured cars with all the bells and whistles, which came with a long list of safety assistance features which would make the Germans blush. But calibration was non-existent. None of these safety systems worked cohesively, which kinda defeated the purpose of having them in the first place. So this is Batik Air today. On paper, they are feature-packed, a business class cabin which promises the sky, and an economy class which sells you the value proposition from heaven. But somehow, the calibration of delivery is very lacking and clumsy. So we end up with an experience which is half-baked and a little wanting. I think I've said my piece. So let's join live Ryan at the arrival hall of Lapangan Terbang Antarabangsa Kuala Lumpur to wrap this video up.
Welcome to KLIA Terminal 1, and that was my experience with Batik Air on a very short domestic flight between Penang Island and Kuala Lumpur International Airport. So what do you think about my commentary about Batik Air? Do you agree with what I say, or do you have your own opinions about what Batik Air is all about? Have your say in the comments because I am pretty eager to hear from you. So for now, I've chucked details of my Instagram on your screen right now, so hit me up there, chuck me a follow, so you can come along with me on my travels in real time. Of course, do not forget to hit subscribe and the bell notification icon, and I'll see you for the next episode of this travel series. Ciao!